Welcome to Rural Health Today. I'm JJ Hodshire, President and Chief Executive Officer of Hillsdale Hospital, and this is a podcast where we connect you, the listener, to what really matters the most in rural health. Healthcare is impacted by the way we structure our local and state governments. In this episode, Michigan Senator Aric Nesbitt will give us a glimpse into his perspective of those structures and how healthcare fits into the bigger picture. We'll talk about the importance of education, preparing the next generation for economic stability, and what all of this has to do with rural healthcare. It's a great pleasure to be in the studio today with a good friend, a fellow student of mine that I actually had the pleasure of getting to know after Hillsdale College. Didn't know you much during Hillsdale College, but someone that has a very significant name recognition right now in the state of Michigan. Someone that we can call a friend to Hillsdale Hospital. Senator Aric Nesbitt, great to have you in the room today. First time on our podcast. I want to welcome you, first of all. But for our listeners, and this is a national podcast, give them a little bit of background of who you are, where you come from. Believe you've been a Michigander all your life, but I'm going to let you tell that story if you would, please.
Hey, JJ, thanks for having me on here. It's always good to see you. I don't know how you have so much energy as you do. I didn't even know
Monsters.
You did. Yes,
Monsters.
I hear you slam them in the Michigan Hospital Association's board meetings.
I do.
You keep up with folks half your age.
I do. I have to.
It's usually only Gen Zs that slam them.
I know, but it's me. It's me. My wife doesn't like it, but it is what it is.
Well, she asked, how long has she put up with it?
Oh, many years. Yeah, 15.
Well, JJ, thanks for all you do. Thanks for having the passion you have and being able to have accessible health care here in rural Michigan. And the amazing thing is, we both went to Hillsdale College, and we know how far away we are from an interstate or from any larger city. But this isn't even the most rural area.
No, it's not.
And as you travel the state of Michigan, you get up north of Clare and into the Upper Peninsula and Alpena. I mean, you're an hour and a half, 2 hours away from some of these hospitals. And it's something where I appreciate the passion, what you're doing. But,
Thank you.
Those that don't know me, I'm Aric Nesbitt. Aric with an A, a little different spelling, middle of 5 kids, all started with A's. And by the time Mom got to me, it was either going to be Aric or Erica with an A, and I'm sure glad she went with Eric. Would have grown up.
That's a good thing.
Would have grown up a little tougher if it was Erica.
Probably.
But you realize why they had 5 kids. We were raised on a 6th-generation dairy and grape farm, and believe me, they got the work out of us.
Oh, yeah.
You learn the values of hard work, of community, of patriotism. And it was something growing up in rural America on a small family farm that you just have that common sense values. I went on to Hillsdale College, my degree in economics there, learned the values why America is really the last best hope of mankind.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful wife, Tricia, married her about 10 years ago.
Wow.
And we have 3 wonderful kids, Catherine, who's 6, William, who's 3. He's our Sour Patch Kid. He's a terror at home like a boy should be.
Yeah.
And then I drop him off at daycare the other day, and the teacher's like, that William's such a sweetheart.
And you're like, who?
The same one?
My boy?
My boy William? At least he's comfortable at home.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Margot Louise, we just had our 3rd kid about 7 months ago.
Yeah.
And Margot came 2 weeks early. And she still came out 9 pounds, 14 ounces. So
that's incredible.
Told my wife she had a choice of who she married, and she told me yes. But
that's awesome.
I'm currently a Senate Republican leader, but I'm running for governor. And it started about 5 years ago during the COVID lockdowns and what was going on. And we were expecting our 2nd child at the time. It was 5 years ago. I was driving her to the OB's office. And it was a second set of lockdowns. I wasn't allowed to go into the office. And I get a text from my wife as I'm sitting in the car that we lost our 2nd kid to a miscarriage. The worst thing that could happen to a parent.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't allowed to go in to be next to her, to hold her hands. And there's a lot of stories out there.
There is.
And you had to work through this, in the hospital. But it is something where they didn't believe or trust the individuals. They didn't believe and trust the institution. They didn't believe and trust families. And what the governor did and folks up in Lansing did, I find it unforgivable on so many levels. But So I'm running for governor because it's just tough to make it here in Michigan right now. We have a high cost of living. We got to lower the cost of energy, of government, of insurance. It's tough to do business. Michigan has been 50th in income growth out of 50 states.
Wow.
And tough for businesses to make it here, job creators, the bureaucratic red tape that prevents folks from investing and growing here. We got to make it easier for job creators to make it here in Michigan. And then our kids right now, and I know when you have 3 out of 5 fourth graders that aren't reading at grade level, and you know if they're not reading at grade level by 3rd grade, that they have a 2 out of 3 chance of doing one of 2 things sometime in their life: going to jail or being on social welfare. And I want to paint a very different picture for the future of Michigan that says we trust parents. We are going to make sure every 3rd grader is able to read at grade level. And we're going to go to a competency-based education where trades are a central part of our education system. Great, college ready, but you also have to get trades back into our schools.
You do.
And you see it. Try to get a plumber, a pipe fitter. I mean, Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs was in Michigan a few months ago, and he gave a startling statistic, 5 and 2. For every 5 people retiring from the trades, there's only 2 people replacing them.
It's unreal. And
we've lost a half a generation of tradesmen. These are jobs that can't be outsourced, that can't be replaced by AI. And I look at my oldest brother, who's a diesel mechanic. He spent his junior year, this was 35 years ago, he spent his junior year in a diesel mechanic school. And then his senior year, he did work co-op, and he had a job on day one. And he's had a good family supporting job over the last 35 years. But he was one of those C-average students. But he could take apart a transmission on a weekend, put it back together, and not have any bolts left over. That's the important part.
That's the key. Unlike me.
But we have to make sure that kids can read, write, and do arithmetic, and provide those opportunities for the kids that aren't going to go on to college, but are going to have really good, important jobs, whether it's your furnace that needs fixing, or whether it's plumbing, or whether it's even a cosmetologist. And I think we've lost that over the last 25 years, and we're not doing a very good job on the education side.
You know, you've been throughout the state of Michigan on tour.
All 83 counties
All 83 counties, I've heard.
There's 83. Did you know that?
I knew there was at least 83. But I do recall you are on a tractor tour. And that's, very unique, but it's really not if you think about it. Michigan is comprised of a lot of rural communities. You come from rural, right?
Yep.
I mean, your community that you came from, how many graduating seniors did you have?
Class of 67.
67.
Which was about 50% larger than my dad's class at 41. And
Unreal.
My grandpa's class at 18.
18,
students.
yeah.
So,
and I think I had 45 in mine. Rural America. So you're very familiar with rural Michigan. You've toured a lot of all the counties, but a lot of hospitals. I know you said you were up in St. Ignace and some other places. A lot of my friends know you, Michigan Hospital Association. Very proud of the work that you've done. We're very, very happy with what support you've given us. But, you've had a chance to talk to some rural hospitals. What's top of mind for you as you look at healthcare? Could you talk to us about that? Because I know you have a picture for what Michigan can look like economically, but there's an important aspect of healthcare that we need to consider and talk about.
Oh, when 17-18% of your economy is healthcare, it's a real challenge. And we got to look at things of how do you make it so everybody can make it in Michigan. And when we used to be a wealthy state, unfortunately now we're a welfare state, we got to become a wealthy state again. And how do you make it that way? You got to raise incomes. You got to break down barriers on red tape and investments from what's happening here in the state, and you got to improve education. Those are the 3 legs of the stool that you need to have for a successful state and a successful economy. And that's how you're able to support by having a growing population. As you know, demographically, if your population is all on Medicare, is all older, God bless them, there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, but
if you don't have those young people, that working age population of 25 to 55, and you don't have the workforce participation rate, where individuals are actually encouraged to go to work. That's another thing that COVID happened in COVID is you're essential, you're not essential.
Right.
Not just behavioral health.
No.
But what does that do to the work ethic for some of these folks? And then you look at our daycare system, we have about 3,000 less daycare providers here in the state than we did 7 years ago, because a lot of those home-based small daycare centers were closed down and they never reopened again.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have them, now you don't have parents, working age population that have kids that are able to work.
Right.
So we got to shake things up here in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
If we just keep the status quo the way it is in
Mm-hmm.
Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
we could lose upwards of 700,000 people over the next 30 years. What's that going to do in terms of impacting not just hospital bottom line, but our communities, our schools,
Devastating.
our work? And so we're at a crossroads. Are we going to be a state that's going to continue to lose population, continue to lose opportunity, and continue to produce students that aren't ready to win in the 21st century? Are we going to become a wealthier state with more opportunities and making sure that our kids are ready to make it in Michigan?
And do you see, when you think about business development and opportunities for that, the state can play a role in bringing new industry and business to Michigan. What would you say is, one of your visions for watching that happen? And how would you encourage that in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, you got to take the red tape and bureaucracy that's coming out of Lansing and burn it down, because right now, whether I'm in Wayne County, which is outside, around Detroit, I was talking to a developer near Taylor. He was trying to build a new restaurant. It was a commercial area. There was a building on it before, but the state regulator came out. He needed a permit to build. Like, it rained last night. That mud puddle out back's a wetland. Not going to have that investment. $6 million missing. Or a boat manufacturer, fourth generation company in West Michigan. They're trying to replace their docks on a lake. And they're 4 years in. There's 700 employees at this manufacturing company, fourth generation, family run business. And they're trying to replace the docks on the lake. And they're 4 years in, and they've spent $1.5 million on legal and engineering costs, and they still don't have a permit to rebuild their docks. Capital follows the path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. In the last few years, Michigan's repealed right to work. That says we're closed to business to manufacturers. Michigan's increased the state's income tax. That shows entrepreneurs that you're not going to be rewarded in the state. They passed you're a large energy purchaser, right? Yeah. And they've passed what I call part of the Green New Deal. It's going to ban fossil fuels over the next 15 years. And it's becoming more expensive and burdensome to do business in Michigan. And as I say, over the last 25 years, Indiana's grown by 1 million people. Michigan's only grown by 70,000 people. We can't continue down this way. Mm-hmm. And believe me, no offense to your Indiana listeners or those from Indiana, but Michigan's a much nicer state than Indiana. I mean, our parks, our lakes.
Look at it.
I married a Hoosier. I've been there.
All right.
I understand.
Right.
But why are they gaining population? They're gaining wealth is because they have an easier time to do business, turnkey permitting.
Yeah.
I mean, hell.
Easier pathway.
Yeah.
Easier pathway.
Capital follows the path of least resistance. We keep on putting up resistors in Michigan. Yeah. We need to end that. We need to make it easier for job creators to invest and grow here in the state. And we've seen over the last 5 years that the state's governor spent nearly $5 billion on corporate welfare. We can't even bribe businesses right now. We got to get back to the basics. Yeah. We got to make sure that our families can make it here, our job providers can make it here, and most importantly, that our kids can make it here.
Yeah, great strategy. You and I have had numerous conversations about, how do we revitalize, some of the communities like Hillsdale, and there's some great things that are happening. But to your point, the pathways that we create, and so we're excited about your campaign and the things that you're doing. I want to end it with this. You're a leader in the Michigan Senate. Outside of your future governorship, I want to talk to you about what do you see in the next year of some of the challenges that the state legislature is going to have to tackle. Apart from, I know you've got a tough election, a lot of hard work for you, but beyond that, what do you look at as some of the challenges in this legislature?
Education. We have to fix education in the state. When we're 44th in reading scores, 48th in science scores, a bottom 10 state, we need to fix that. And if our kids are going to make it in Michigan, we got to make sure every kid's able to read it at grade level. We have to make sure we trust parents to provide choice for them and accountability. and transparency in our schools, and we got to provide career opportunities for our kids in high school. And I take an example. 10 years ago, Mississippi was 49th in their reading scores. Today, they're 9th. What did they do? And I think we can follow other states as a model. What do they do? Phonics-based science of reading. Got to follow a phonics-based science of reading in the curriculum. Provide literacy coaches to elementary teachers to make sure they're teaching that phonics-based science of reading. If they're not at grade level by third grade, they have tutors. Intensive reading, tutoring to make sure that they're reading at grade level. And then there's the accountability saying they're not going to go on until they actually know how to read. I think this is what we have to tackle as a state if we're going to be serious about providing better opportunities for our next generation here. And this is the amazing thing about Michigan, how diverse Michigan is, from Detroit all the way up to Marquette and everywhere in between. But we're celebrating 250 years as a country next year. We're a very young country compared to others, but we have the oldest constitution in the world. And when I started making my way to other parts of Michigan, I was sitting down with a group of Arab American business owners in Wayne County. And one was about our age, came over when he was 12 years old, his dad did. And I tell the story just I view it as a greatness of America type of story. And it's hard, it's easy to lose sight of it when everybody's so negative and so partisan and back and forth these days. But this guy came over when he was 12 with his parents. His dad started this little machine shop right in the corner of Detroit and Dearborn. They rebuilt axles, they rebuilt brakes, dirty work, good work, hard work. And he's built that business into a tens of millions of dollars business today. And he tells me he couldn't have done this anywhere else in the world. I asked him, what do you mean by that? There's other countries with free market economics, private property rights, rule of law, the conditions for a successful economy. He goes, no, you go to Paris. There's 4 generations of Algerians. They still live in the same neighborhood. They're not French. They're still Algerian. You go to Berlin. There's 4 generations of Turks. They're still Turkish. They're not German. Yep. I'm an American. He looks at me.
It's incredible.
My kids are an American.
It's incredible.
You and I may have a different religion, but I'm a capitalist. And I asked him, why is that? And he goes, well, it's those radicals back in the 1700s that had the belief that our rights came from a creator instead of government, and that they believed in the individual instead of the state. And I think this is what, as I look at it, the vast majority of people just like, let the government do basic things to make sure that our roads are in a good condition, that they have efficient services, that our schools are actually performing well, and let us raise our kids. And as we celebrate 250 years as a country, I think it's just important to remember that there's a lot more that we have in common than what some people want to rip us apart.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking Nesbitt for president. That's just what I'm thinking. You've done some great things for the state of Michigan. You'll continue to do great things. We're appreciative of the work that you've done for rural hospitals. Like Hillsdale, you've been an advocate for me. You've supported some very important legislation for us. I want to thank you for that. I look forward to working with you into the future. Senator Aric Nesbitt, leader on the floor, obviously leader in the community, but someone who, this isn't easy running for office. In fact, it highlights all of the things that, we just don't want to tackle. Our own ambitions sometimes stand in the way, but you've put all that aside and you said, I want to do what's right for Michigan. And I think that's been so important to watch your campaign, unlike a lot of others. You really care about what's important for Michigan. As a Michigander, you see the importance of what rural America can do. Where the hospital is the largest economic engine for this community. And most community hospitals in rural communities like Hillsdale, that's what we are. And it's critically important. We appreciate your support in healthcare, and we really look forward to watching what the next year unfolds for you and for Michigan. Thanks for joining us today. It's been great to have you on the podcast. Hope to have you back here in the future.
Well, great. Thanks, JJ.
Absolutely.
Thanks for all you do. From your lips to God's ears, let's get it done.
Let's get it done. Thanks for joining us. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to Rural Health Today. Catch our next segment, Rural Health News, to stay up to date on the current state of rural healthcare every Monday, wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to check out the latest updates on resources from Rural Health Today at ruralhealthtoday.com, and make sure you subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Until next time, remember the power of rural.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Rural Health Today, the podcast where we connect you to what really matters in rural health. Rural Health Today is a production of Hillsdale Hospital in Hillsdale, Michigan, and a member of the Health Podcast Network. Our host is JJ Hodshire, our producer is Kirsten Newlon, and our audio engineer is Kenji Ulmer. Special thanks to our guests for sharing their expertise on the show, and also to the Hillsdale Hospital marketing team. If you want to submit a question for us to answer on the podcast or learn more about Rural Health Today, visit ruralhealthtoday.com.